23 files, 1.8 megabytes. That is every cutaway in a 17-minute video. Every graphic, every diagram, every card, all of it. 1.8 megabytes, smaller than a single photo off your phone. And that's my generation credit balance before I built it. Here it is after. Same number. I did not generate a single clip. No VO, no runway, no Higgs field, nothing rendered on anybody's GPU but mine. And mine is a laptop. Here's the part that's going to sound like a lie until I show you the files. It didn't just cost nothing. It came out better than the version I was paying for. Tighter, more specific, easier to watch. Because the thing I was buying was never actually B-roll. I want to be careful with that because it's the whole video, and I don't want it to land as a cheap shot at tools that work fine. When you buy AI B-roll, you are buying decoration, moving wallpaper, something pretty to put behind your voice so the screen isn't just your face for 11 minutes. And decoration is the specific reason AI videos look cheap. I'll show you the whole build, the code, the timing, the thing that broke, and the standard I set for myself and then missed. And I'll show you the number I missed it by, because that's the part these videos never include. This video is made with the system in this video. Everything you're about to see me cut to is the thing itself. Let me describe the workflow I used to run because I suspect it's yours. Scripts finished, voice is recorded. Now you need visuals. So you open a generator and you start typing prompts. Cinematic office, morning light, abstract data flowing, person working late, moody, 5 seconds a clip, 7 or 8 credits each. You need 20 of them, so you burn 150 credits, you wait, you download, and you drag them onto a timeline underneath whatever you happen to be saying at the time. And it looks fine. It looks like a video. It looks like every other video. Here's the thing nobody tells you about that workflow. Not one of those 20 clips has anything to do with what you said. You're talking about a specific number. The screen shows a person typing. You're describing a step in a process. The screen shows glowing lines. You're making an argument that took you an hour to get right, and underneath it is a stock-looking shot of a city at night that would fit equally well under literally any sentence in any video ever made. That's the test, and it's brutal once you start applying it. If a clip would work equally well under any other line in your script, it isn't doing anything. It's covering a gap. And the viewer knows. Not consciously. Nobody watches a video thinking, that cutaway is semantically unrelated to the narration. They just feel the thing drift. They feel that nothing is being shown to them, and they leave, and you look at the retention graph and think the problem was your hook. Now, I ran that workflow for months. I'm not describing something I read about. I have a video on this channel where we tested 5 different AI B-roll tools, and it's one of the best performing things I've ever posted, which is its own kind of joke. The video about buying B-roll did better than the videos that used it. The tools were not the problem. Every one of them did exactly what it promised. They generated beautiful 5-second clips. I was asking the wrong question. I kept asking, how do I get better clips? And the actual question was, what should be on screen right now? Those have completely different answers. And here's where it stops being about taste, because YouTube wrote it down. Under the off-putting content category, YouTube names as violative, and I'm quoting, content that stitch together unrelated or inconsistent AI clips. Unrelated. Inconsistent. That is a description of a generated B-roll layer that doesn't connect to what's being said. I want to be precise here because there's a whole genre of video that would take that sentence and run a thumbnail saying, AI B-roll is banned. And that is not what it says, and I'm not going to pretend it is. Generated clips are not banned. Nobody is coming for your VO footage. What's named is the disconnection. Clips stitched together with no logical progression, no relationship to the content they sit under. Which means the thing I was doing badly out of laziness is describable, in YouTube's own words, as a monetization risk. And from the same document, if you use automated tools to help make your content, the final product still has to demonstrate your creative vision. That's a fair standard. It's also an achievable one, and it costs nothing. So here's the rule I set for this channel, months before I could actually execute it. No abstract B-roll. Ever. No particles, no glowing rings, no data flow lines, no floating nodes, no swirls that mean artificial intelligence. Every single cutaway has to be one of three things: a real screenshot of the actual thing, a real quote rebuilt so you can read it with its source stamped on screen, or real literal footage of the thing being described, not a symbol of it, the thing. And the test is one sentence. Point at the cut and name what it depicts. If you can't finish the sentence, it's decoration, and it goes. That rule is the entire video. Everything after this is just how I made it cheap enough to actually follow. Because there's an obvious objection, and I had it myself for a long time. Decoration is easy. You type a prompt, you get a clip. Evidence is specific, and specific means somebody has to make it. A diagram of your actual pipeline doesn't exist anywhere. A card showing your actual numbers has to be built. That's design work, and design work is slow, and I'm one person. So the first time I tried to do this properly, I did what everybody does. I reached for a real motion graphics setup. I built the whole thing in Remotion, React, running in a headless browser, rendering frames. It took 11 hours. 11 hours for a 15-minute video. And the tell was the worst part. The estimated time kept going up as it ran. And when I threw more parallelism at it, it got slower. 7 hours at one setting, 11 and a half at a higher one. More workers made it worse. That's a specific bug with a specific cause, and I'll come back to it later because the fix is a one-liner that'll save somebody watching this an entire night. But the lesson I took at the time was the wrong one. I concluded that doing it properly was too expensive, and I went back to buying clips. That was wrong. Doing it properly wasn't expensive. My tools were. Think about what a whiteboard drawing actually is. Some text, some lines, some boxes, an arrow, a circle around a word. None of that needs a browser. None of it needs a graphics card. It's arithmetic and a font. Once I saw it that way, the whole thing collapsed into about 300 lines of Python. Let me start with the part that matters most, because it's the part that makes this look edited instead of generated. And it's got nothing to do with drawing. It's timing. When your video renders, you get a caption file, an SRT. Most people use it for subtitles and never think about it again. Look at what's actually in it. Every sentence you said, and the exact millisecond you said it. That is a complete map of your own video. And it means you never have to touch a timeline. Here's how it works. For every cutaway, I don't write a timestamp. I write a phrase. I say, this diagram belongs wherever I say 12,431. Then the tool searches the caption file, finds the block containing that phrase, and pins the cutaway there. 23 cutaways. Every one anchored to a sentence instead of a second. Let me do one properly so you can see the whole loop. I write the cue as the words, it'll break in exactly 3 ways. That's it, that's the whole instruction. I never open a video editor. The tool normalizes that phrase, strips the punctuation and the capitals so a stray comma can't break the match, and walks the caption file forward looking for it. It finds it in block 241, which starts at 11 minutes 22.666. And there's one detail in there that matters more than it looks. It searches forward from the previous cutaway, not from the beginning. Because I say 3 ways more than once in this video, and a naive search would put the diagram on the wrong one. Ordering the cues means each search starts where the last one ended, and a phrase you reuse can't misfire. If it can't find a phrase at all, it says so by name and refuses to guess. Which is what you want. A cutaway silently landing in the wrong place is much worse than a tool that stops and tells you it couldn't find your line. And here's why that's not a small convenience. I re-record. My pacing changes. I take a breath somewhere. I stumble on a word. The whole back half of the video shifts by 4 seconds. Nothing breaks. I rerun it. Everything resnaps to where I actually said the words this time. Compare that to a normal timeline, where a 4-second shift at minute 2 means dragging every single graphic after it. That's the reason most people stop adding cutaways halfway through. Not because they run out of ideas, because the edit gets too expensive to change. There's one more thing the caption file does, and it's saved me twice now. Before I build anything, I check the file against the script. I take 4 phrases that only exist in my final draft and confirm they're in the captions. Then I take 4 that only existed in a draft I threw away and confirm they're not. Then, and this is the one, I search for the last sentence of the script, the sign-off. If it's in there, the render finished. If it isn't, the render truncated, and everything I'm about to build is being built on a broken file. That takes 9 seconds, and it has caught a silently truncated render that was missing its entire ending. That's it. That's the whole timing system. A caption file and a search box. Now the drawing itself, and I promise this is simpler than you're expecting. A scene is a list of elements. Each element knows what it is, where it goes, when it starts drawing, and how long the stroke takes. That's the entire model. Text, line, box, circle, arrow. 5 things. Text is the interesting one because it has to look like it's being written rather than just appearing. The trick is embarrassingly simple. Render the finished line of text once, then reveal it left to right through a mask that slides across. Your eye reads that as writing. Lines and arrows are the same idea. Draw from the start point to a point that moves toward the end. Boxes walk the perimeter. A circle sweeps around by angle, so it closes like you'd close it with a marker, slightly past where it started. And then one detail that does more work than all of it combined. Every point gets moved by a pixel or two, randomly, from a fixed seed. That's it. A tiny wobble. Perfectly straight lines read as a slideshow. The eye clocks them as a computer immediately. 2 pixels of jitter, and the same diagram reads as somebody's hand. Fixed seed matters, by the way, so it wobbles the same way every time you render. Otherwise, the thing shivers. Color is 3 constants at the top of one file. Cream, ink, and 1 accent. Change those 3 lines and every graphic in the video rebrands. 1 accent color. Not 2, not 5. The accent is how you say, look here. The number that matters. The word being circled. The step that's wrong. The moment you have 3 accent colors, none of them mean anything. And that's the whole drawing system. 5 elements, a mask that slides, and 2 pixels of wobble. That's it. That's the whole game. Now, knowing how to draw doesn't tell you what to draw, and that's where people stall. So here are the 5 shapes I use over and over. Between them, they cover almost everything. 1. The proportion, drawn to scale. You have a whole and a part. Draw the whole as a bar, cut it where the real number falls, shade what was lost. The one in this video showing where a script got truncated is exactly that, and the cut sits at the true position, 93% along, not wherever looked good. Draw it to scale or don't draw it. 2. The 2 things comparison. Split the board, 1 on each side, 1 line down the middle. The version of something and the better version. What everyone says against what's true. Left is the thing they already believe, right is yours. 3. The numbered list. 3 or 4 items, arriving one at a time as you say them, with the payoff line in the accent color and underlined. Sounds boring. It is the single highest retention graphic I make because the viewer can see how many are left and knows exactly how long to stay. 4. The circled word. Write a full line in plain ink, then circle the one word that's load-bearing. Nothing focuses attention faster. But you have to measure where that word actually falls. Ask the font how wide the text before it is, rather than eyeballing a coordinate, or your circle lands 2 letters off and looks broken. 5. The arithmetic. 2 real numbers, a rule underneath, the answer in the accent color. Anytime you're claiming something took a certain amount of time or cost a certain amount, show the subtraction. It's the difference between telling somebody a number and showing them where it came from. And notice what all 5 have in common. Not one of them can be made without a real, specific fact. You cannot draw a proportion without a real proportion. You can't do the arithmetic without the 2 numbers. That's not a coincidence. It's the rule enforcing itself. The formats that look good are the formats that require evidence. Decoration can't fill these shapes. Now, I've made enough of these to know where it goes wrong, and it always goes wrong in the same 4 places. So none of those checks live in my head anymore. They live in the tool. 1. Two cutaways overlapping. If a scene runs long enough to collide with the next one, they fight. On the last build, the checker caught two of those in cut lists I had personally reviewed and thought were fine. 2. A cutaway running past the end of the video, or starting before the beginning. 3. And this one's subtle. A scene that gets cut off mid-draw. The scene needs 6 seconds to finish drawing. Something shortened it to 4. It now cuts away in the middle of an arrow, which looks like a glitch. The tool knows how long each scene takes to draw, and refuses to give it less. 4. Coverage. That's the big one, so let me define it. Coverage is what percentage of the video is not my face. There's a floor, and for me, it's 35%. Below that, the avatar dominates, and a talking head held too long starts reading as robotic, no matter how good the script is. The specific rule I use? Never hold on the avatar longer than about 12 seconds without cutting away. So the tool computes coverage and tells me the number before I render anything. Here's the principle, and it generalizes way past video. Any check that lives in a review pass is a check you will skip on the day you're tired and the upload is late. Put it in the tool. Make the tool refuse. Then being tired doesn't cost you anything. I'll tell you in a minute about the check I hadn't built yet and exactly what it cost me. So, 23 scenes, drawn as frames, encoded to clips, laid over the A-roll. 4,727 frames, every one drawn in Python. The whole thing took about 290 seconds of processor time, under 5 minutes, against 11 hours the old way. And the old way needed a browser and a graphics card and produced something that looked worse. The clips come out to 1.8 megabytes total, because line art on a flat background compresses to almost nothing. And I owe you the 11-hour thing, because I said I'd come back to it, and I'm not going to leave that hanging. Here's what was happening. My avatar video came out of the renderer with keyframes about 10 seconds apart. A keyframe is a complete picture. Everything between is stored as the difference from the one before. The editor was seeking into that video on every single frame. And to show you a frame that sits 9 seconds after the last keyframe, the decoder has to go back to that keyframe and decode forward through 9 seconds of video to get there. Then throw it away and do it again for the next frame. So the deeper into the video it got, the more work each frame took. That's why the estimate went up instead of down. And it's why more parallelism made it worse. Every extra worker was another process seeking around the same file, fighting for the same disk. The fix is one command. Re-encode the video first with a keyframe every single second, then edit against that copy. That's it. 11 hours becomes about 20 minutes. It costs you maybe 25% more file size and a quality difference you cannot see. I'm giving you that one because it's a whole night of your life, and there is no way to work it out from first principles. The symptom, a render getting slower as it goes, doesn't point anywhere near the cause. Then compositing. And this is where I hit the wall, and where I want to hand you two things that cost me a real afternoon. The first one is about long jobs. I kicked off the full composite in the background, checked on it, looked healthy, the log was growing, frames were ticking. Came back later. The log had stopped at 48 seconds, of a 17-minute render. The process had been killed almost immediately, and had been quietly dead the entire time I thought it was working. The machine had 2 cores. Encoding ran at about twice real time. So the fix was to stop pretending it was one long job. Chop it into chunks that each finish in under a minute, cache the finished ones, and run it again and again until it's done. 15 chunks. Every one either completes or doesn't exist. Kill it anytime you like. It picks up where it stopped. And that leads directly to the second thing, which is the better lesson. One of those chunks got killed mid-write. It left behind a 12 megabyte file. 12 megabytes, not empty. Looked completely normal in the folder. And my resume logic checked, does this file exist and is it bigger than 0, which it was, so it skipped it and moved on. I built 12 more chunks on top of it. And then at the very end, when everything got stitched together, the whole thing failed because that file had no header. It was never finished. It just looked finished. Here's the thing nobody tells you about automating your own work. The failures that cost you are never the loud ones. A loud failure you fix in a minute. The expensive ones are the things that come back looking exactly like success. A file with a size, a render that returns, a number on a dashboard. So now every chunk gets probed, not checked for existence, actually opened and asked how long it is, and compared against how long it should be. And nothing is ever written to its final name. It's written to a temporary name and renamed only when it finishes. So a killed job physically cannot leave something that looks done. Two rules, and they've both got the same shape. Don't trust the appearance of the artifact. Ask it a question only a finished one can answer. Alright, what this doesn't do, and where I fell short. This is the part I'd skip if I were selling you something. First one, I set myself a 35% coverage floor. I told you about it 15 minutes ago like a man who follows his own rules. I came in at 18%. Not close. About half. My own standard, in my own tool, printed on my own screen, and I shipped under it anyway. And I want to be exact about why. Because the reason is the honest limit of this whole approach. The whiteboard scenes and the evidence cards, the parts a script can generate, those I can produce endlessly and for nothing. What I can't generate is a recording of my own screen, me actually clicking through the thing. That has to be captured by a human being, and the human being was me, and I hadn't done it. So the tool did its job. It told me the number. It told me exactly how many seconds short I was. And then I looked at the clock and published anyway, which is a decision, not an accident. And I'd rather tell you I made it than let you assume the number was 35. Second thing this doesn't do, it doesn't make the video good. Everything I've shown you is plumbing. It doesn't write a better hook. It doesn't pick a better topic. It will happily place 23 beautifully drawn, perfectly timed cutaways underneath an argument nobody wanted to hear. I've got proof of that too, and it isn't flattering. Same system, 3 channels. One of them went from 1 subscriber to 103 in a month. This one, the channel you're watching right now, went slightly backwards over the same window. Same tools, same workflow, same person, opposite results. If the tooling were the answer, that could not happen. Third, there's a real limit on what a drawing can do. A whiteboard can show you a number, a comparison, a sequence, a relationship. It cannot show you a face, or a place, or a moment. If your video needs those, you need footage, and you should go get footage. This isn't a replacement for everything. It's a replacement for the specific, enormous category of cutaway that exists purely to stop the screen being boring. One more, and it's the one that could actually hurt you. The whole argument of this video is that your cutaways should be real screenshots of real things, which means that from now on, you are putting your actual screens in front of an audience, your actual account pages, your actual dashboards, your actual invoices. I have had customer email addresses sitting in a screen recording I was one click from publishing. Not hypothetically, that's a note in my own production file in capital letters because I nearly did it. So there's a step now, and it happens before rendering, not before uploading. When I rebuild a real response as a card, I type the word redacted in place of the private value. It never gets drawn in the first place. That's deliberate. Blurring later is a thing you have to remember, and anything you have to remember is something you'll skip at midnight. If it never enters the pipeline, it can't leave it. And be specific about what actually matters. Your own name is fine, it's your channel. An identifier that's meaningless without your login is fine. What is not fine is anybody else's information, ever, and any credential at all, ever. If a key is visible in a frame, that take is dead, not blurred, deleted, and re-recorded. That rule is free to follow and catastrophic to skip once. So here's what I want you to do with all this. I packaged the whole thing up and put it on GitHub. All of it. The renderer, the caption anchoring, the validator, the chunked compositor, the fonts, a worked example you can run today. It's free. There's nothing to sign up for, there's no email wall dressed up as a gift, and there's no upsell attached to it. Link is in the description. If you use Claude, drop it in as a skill, and just tell it to build the B-roll for your video from your caption file. If you don't, it's plain Python. Run it however you like. And I'll be straight with you about the other thing, because I just spent 25 minutes telling you not to trust things that look finished. I do sell a course. It's called the AI Channel Blueprint. It covers building the whole channel rather than just this one layer, and it is a paid product. It is not free, and I'm not going to imply otherwise. It's linked below too, and if you never click it, the tool still works and it's still yours. Here's what I actually think you should take from this, and it's not about B-roll. For about 6 months, I believed the reason my videos looked amateur was that I hadn't bought the right tool yet. That there was a purchase between me and professional. There wasn't. The gap was never the footage. It was that I hadn't decided what deserved to be on the screen. The moment I made that decision, that every cut has to show something real, the cost of doing it properly collapsed. Not because I found a cheaper generator, because once you know exactly what needs to be on screen, most of what you were paying for turns out to be things you didn't need. That's most of this business, honestly. The tools are not the constraint. Judgment is. And judgment is the one thing nobody can sell you and nobody can generate. I'm in my 50s. I came out of the mortgage industry. I've never written software professionally, and I have never once been on camera on this channel. If I can decide what belongs on a screen, so can you. Go take the tool, then go make something worth putting through it. I'll see you in the next one.